This video is for business owners and innovation leaders who want to innovate better. So I'm going to start by showing you a simple innovation. And it's so simple, it's ridiculous. Here it is. Are you amazed? Are you amazed yet? I have some pop left and it's getting warm, so I want to store it in the freezer, but it's too fat. So I just squished it down with the cap open and closed it, and now I've got a freezer friendly bottle of pop that I can cool in the freezer. The reason I show you this is because one of the problems with innovation is less to do with education and far more to do with dogma and artificial constraints being added too soon. So this is Crush It Club 186. I call it Innovate by Disintegrating the Box, or Schrodinger's Innovation Paradigm, from the original article I wrote on LinkedIn on this same subject. This guy here is Edwin Schrodinger. This is the representation of the dead cat and the live cat and the box, which he put the cats in. So he was a quantum physicist, theoretical physicist. This was a thought experiment. And he said, if you could have a radioisotope control the release of poison into a box, a closed box that contained a cat, because of wave superposition, that is something which is in one of two states simultaneously, the cat could potentially be simultaneously alive and simultaneously dead, but only until you looked inside the box, in which case the cat would be definitely alive or definitely dead. But with the box closed and nobody observing it, it could be both. So you're getting the best of both worlds in a sense. So how does this relate to innovation? Well, people talk about thinking inside the box now, because that's the new outside the box. And people used to talk about thinking outside the box until that became cliche about 30 years ago. So now people are talking about inside the box. Now there's a great little thing you can listen to. It's free. I will put a link in the description. It's called The Myth of the Garage. It's a free book by the Heath brothers. It's quite short. I think it's an hour or two, but it's a great book. I recommend you'd listen to it. Anything by the Heath brothers, in fact. They talk about thinking inside the box and the advantages of that. And there is psychological research to tell us why that's good. But the short version is, if I give you, the experiment that they did, they had two rooms, one room with many items on a table and one room with few items on the table. And they found that the room with fewer items on the table, more people were able to solve the problems using fewer items. So they said, oh, well, adding constraints helps people, or reducing ambiguity helps people innovate better. Well, it would be more accurate to say it's easier to innovate when you give somebody a simpler problem. Not that it is the better solution, only that if you make the circumstances easier and reduce ambiguity, that people are more likely to come up with a solution, not necessarily the best solution. And that's all true. But I suggest what you do is you disintegrate the box, because that way, you can do the simultaneous, like the Schrodinger's cat thing, right? You can innovate in the box and out of the box all at once by removing the box from existence. So that's sort of what I'm going to talk about in my personal approach to innovation. I've been doing this for about 45 years now, so I've had a little bit of practice. And it comes down to making that box not exist. So in truth, physics, not just quantum physics, but time, the space-time continuum, money, and other things will impose constraints on you and your innovation no matter what. So don't worry about that yet. Screw that. Innovate without the box so that you can be in a wave superposition state, and innovate in all creative spaces, inside and outside the box simultaneously. So I think it's actually the better way to go. So I want you to start with two simple ideas. And the simple ideas are, we have a problem, and any approach that works is good for now. So try it this way. This is basically a three-step process, and that is let ideas percolate, in any way that works best for you. What typically works best for me is I do basically an intense, mindful, ADHD, mind-wandering thing, and I just let myself wander around in the creative space until I become exhausted or enlightened, and so far it's only been the former. And then I take a well-needed break. So just as an example of this, I had a non-stick pan liner I wanted to do. So I looked at Origami. I'll put a link in the description to Robert J. Lang's Origami because it's pretty amazing. So I was thinking about taking sheets of Teflon or PTFE and using origami patterns to fold them so they would fit inside a fry pan and you could do basically fat-free frying. That was one approach. Another one was to use PTFE powder and spray coat it by spraying it through a stream of hot air, and then you could spray or sort of paint with heat, it's called spray coating actually, onto a form without needing the expensive forms that are normally required to manufacture Teflon. The third one was to use, just cut a flat piece of mesh, that's Teflon, fiberglass mesh that's Teflon coated, and put it inside the bottom of your fry pan so it makes an airspace. That's already been done, it's already in the market, but this was like 10 or 15 years ago when I first did this. And then the other one was to make an encased arrangement of either ball bearings or rollers made of steel, maybe Teflon coated, and then put them between two metal plates so that what happens is it's attached together, and the ball bearings could roll inside and the rollers could roll inside, and you could cook on it like a grill, but instead of lifting the food up, which would tear it apart, you push it sideways and the rollers would roll and it would be freed because the ball bearings and the rollers would scrape the food off the outside of the rollers and the food would still be there. So it would be sort of self-cleaning. The reason I tell you this is just because anything like this is possible from anybody, but only if they have the creativity and the wide exposure. More accurately, creativity is a learned skill, by the way. If you have exposure to many things, either by formal education, but less likely by that, but just by broad experiences and being interested in a lot of things, that's where innovation really happens. So that's the reason I have a better solution to Google's Makani kite-power. Google gave up after acquiring the company after 7 years. I've had a better solution for a long time. Didn't take me 7 years to figure it out. Another one is Bill Gates's solar concentrator called Heliogen, reached 1,000 Celsius. I'm filled with an overwhelming sense of, so what? That is not that special. I also have a better solution. This isn't because I'm smarter. It's because I have different, wider experience and 45 years of practice. I came up with simple solutions instead of complex solutions. So the reason that big companies basically guarantee failure about finding the best solution is they're thinking inside the box and saying, we have a bunch of science geeks here. I'm one too, but I don't have fancy credentials. And they're basically saying, what is the best solution these highly paid, highly qualified, formally educated science geeks can come up with, instead of saying, what's the best solution anyone that can come up with? And this is ironic since none of the top innovation companies in the world, except Elon Musk's, would even consider hiring Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, because they're all college dropouts. If they weren't famous, they'd never get hired at their own companies. So then the second part to this is you're taking your well-deserved break. Whatever that means to you, just take some downtime, whether it's hours or days, to take your downtime, and then go back and revisit the problem. And now you put everything into that boring ass box and you sift through looking at the real constraints you have that are left, like time, money, resources, skills. Take what works, put it in one box to test, take what doesn't, put it in another box to dump. And I have one last thing, and that's a recommended video that I'll put right there. That's called A More Beautiful Question Book Review. This has been Crush It Club 168, Innovate by Disintegrating the Box. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.